My sisters demanded that I let them rent my vacation home for profit. When I refused, they destroyed it by setting fire to the house. I went to court and maybe I'll lose due to lack of evidence. I'm desperate. I never imagined my life would turn into a legal drama straight out of a courtroom thriller, especially involving my own family. My name is Emma, and for years, I've cherished the vacation home my grandparents left me. Nestled by a serene lake, it's been a sanctuary, a place where I could escape the chaos of daily life and find peace. Little did I know, this haven would become the epicenter of a devastating family conflict. It all started when my two younger sisters, Rachel and Lisa, approached me with what they thought was a brilliant idea. They wanted to rent out the vacation home to make some extra money. At first, I didn't think much of it, but as I considered their proposal, unease began to settle in. This home was more than just a property to me, it was a legacy filled with memories of our childhood summers. I couldn't bring myself to turn it into a commercial venture, and that's when things took a dark turn. The vacation home was a quaint, two-story cottage painted in a soothing shade of blue, with white shutters and a wraparound porch that offered stunning views of the lake. My grandparents had built it with their own hands, pouring love and care into every nail and board. For as long as I can remember, it was a place of joy and laughter. We spent countless summers there, swimming in the lake, roasting marshmallows by the fire pit, and listening to Grandpa's stories about the stars. This home was my refuge. It was where I went to clear my mind, to find solace in its quiet corners, and to relive the cherished memories of a simpler time. Renting it out to strangers felt like a betrayal of everything it stood for. I tried explaining this to Rachel and Lisa, hoping they'd understand why I couldn't agree to their plan. But my words seemed to fall on deaf ears, and what started as a disagreement soon spiraled into a full-blown conflict that none of us could have anticipated. Rachel and Lisa didn't take my refusal well. They saw the vacation home as an untapped source of income and couldn't understand why I was so attached to it. One evening, they sat me down at Rachel's kitchen table and laid out their proposal in detail. They had done their homework, spreadsheets, potential rental income, management companies that could handle the logistics. They even argued that renting it out would keep the house in use and well-maintained. I listened to their pitch, but my heart was heavy. To them, it was a simple business opportunity, but to me, it felt like selling off a piece of our family's soul. I explained again how much the house meant to me, how it was more than just four walls and a roof. But Rachel and Lisa were relentless. They insisted that I was being sentimental and unreasonable, and that my decision was depriving them, and potentially our children, of financial benefits. The discussion grew heated, and I felt the gap between us widening with every word. I stood firm in my decision, but their determination to change my mind left me uneasy about what might come next. As the conversation escalated, I knew I had to stand my ground, no matter how much it hurt to see the disappointment and frustration in my sister's eyes. "I'm sorry," I said firmly, "but the answer is no. This house means too much to me, and I can't turn it into a rental property." I hoped that would be the end of it, but Rachel and Lisa's expressions hardened, and I could tell they weren't ready to let it go. In the days that followed, they tried to sway me in other ways. Rachel sent me links to articles about the booming vacation rental market and texted me reminders about how the extra income could be used for family vacations or saving for our kids' futures. Lisa, always the more emotional of the two, tried appealing to my sense of fairness, arguing that they deserved a share in the house's potential earnings. But each time, I reiterated my decision. I couldn't shake the feeling that something precious would be lost if we rented out our grandparents' home. Little did I know, my refusal would ignite a fire far more destructive than I could have ever imagined. Rachel and Lisa's persistence soon turned into resentment. What started as a business disagreement morphed into a deeply personal feud. Family gatherings became awkward, with tense silences and pointed remarks. Rachel stopped inviting me to her home, and Lisa's calls became infrequent, often tinged with bitterness. One night, during a particularly strained dinner at our parents' house, the topic resurfaced. Rachel accused me of being selfish, prioritizing my sentimental attachment over their financial stability. Lisa backed her up, tearfully pleading with me to reconsider. Their words stung, but I stood my ground, reiterating that the house was not just a financial asset but a cherished family heirloom. After that dinner, the relationship with my sisters deteriorated rapidly. They stopped speaking to me, and when they did, it was only through curt, business-like emails. I began to feel a sense of foreboding, worried about how far they might go to get what they wanted. I couldn't shake the feeling that our family was falling apart, and the vacation home, once a symbol of unity, had become the epicenter of our division. The call came in the middle of the night. My heart raced as I saw the unknown number on my phone screen. On the other end was a neighbor from the lake, his voice urgent and panicked. "Emma, your vacation home, it's on fire." I felt the world tilt around me. I barely remember the drive there, just a blur of flashing lights and a sinking feeling in my chest. When I arrived, the scene was a nightmare. Flames licked at the night sky, casting an eerie glow over the lake. Firefighters were battling the inferno, but it was clear that the damage was extensive. I stood there, helpless, watching the place where so many happy memories had been made, reduced to a smoldering ruin. The smell of smoke filled the air, mingling with the bitter taste of loss. As I looked around, trying to comprehend the magnitude of the destruction, a chilling thought crossed my mind. This couldn't have been an accident. My sister's words echoed in my head, their anger and desperation. Could they have really gone this far? The notion seemed too horrific to be true, yet I couldn't shake it. The once serene haven was now a scene of devastation, and I was left grappling with the reality that our family feud had reached a catastrophic climax. The days following the fire were a blur of police reports, insurance claims, and endless questions. The fire marshal determined that the blaze had been set deliberately. It was arson. My heart sank further as the implications became clear. Someone had destroyed my grandparents' beloved home on purpose. I felt a mix of anger, sorrow, and suspicion. Naturally, my thoughts turned to Rachel and Lisa. They had the motive, given their anger over my refusal to rent the house. I hated myself for even considering it, but the timing was too coincidental. When the investigators asked if I had any suspects, I hesitated but eventually mentioned the conflict with my sisters. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I couldn't ignore the possibility. Rachel and Lisa vehemently denied any involvement when questioned. They were outraged that I could even think they were capable of such a thing. The investigation dragged on, and with no concrete evidence linking them to the crime, the case began to stall. I found myself in a precarious position, torn between my instincts and the lack of proof. The doubt and suspicion were eroding the remnants of our relationship, and I feared the damage might be irreparable. With the investigation hitting a dead end, my only recourse was to pursue a legal battle. I filed a lawsuit against Rachel and Lisa, accusing them of arson and seeking damages for the loss of the vacation home. The decision tore at me, but I felt I had no choice. I needed to find justice for the home and the memories it held, even if it meant turning against my own flesh and blood. The courtroom became a new battlefield. My sisters hired a high-powered attorney who painted them as innocent victims of my paranoia and greed. They claimed I was using the fire as a way to ostracize them further from the family, leveraging it for sympathy and control over the remaining family assets. Their defense was brutal and relentless. My lawyer presented the circumstantial evidence, the escalating conflict, their anger and desperation, and the timing of the fire. But without concrete proof, like eyewitnesses or forensic evidence directly linking them to the crime, the case was fragile. The proceedings dragged on, each session draining more of my hope and energy. It became clear that winning this case was going to be incredibly difficult, and the possibility of losing loomed large, amplifying my desperation and fear. As the legal battle unfolded, I found myself consumed by anxiety and despair. The courtroom became a battleground where my family's trust and my own sense of justice were put to the test. Every day brought new challenges, from facing my sister's accusations to enduring the scrutiny of the public eye. The once strong bond between us had fractured irreparably, leaving me isolated and heartbroken. Beyond the courtroom drama, my personal life suffered. Sleep became elusive, haunted by nightmares of flames devouring the cherished memories of my grandparents. Relationships with other family members strained under the weight of suspicion and betrayal. Financially, the burden of legal fees and the loss of the vacation home cast a shadow over my future stability. I wrestled with guilt over pursuing legal action against Rachel and Lisa, knowing it further deepened the divide in our family. Yet, I couldn't let go of the need for accountability and justice. Each day became a relentless cycle of hope and despair, wondering if the truth would ever come to light or if I would be left with nothing but shattered dreams and a fractured family. As the legal battle unfolded, I found myself consumed by anxiety and despair. The courtroom became a battleground where my family's trust and my own sense of justice were put to the test. Every day brought new challenges, from facing my sister's accusations to enduring the scrutiny of the public eye. The once strong bond between us had fractured irreparably, leaving me isolated and heartbroken. Beyond the courtroom drama, my personal life suffered. Sleep became elusive, haunted by nightmares of flames devouring the cherished memories of my grandparents. Relationships with other family members strained under the weight of suspicion and betrayal. Financially, the burden of legal fees and the loss of the vacation home cast a shadow over my future stability. I wrestled with guilt over pursuing legal action against Rachel and Lisa, knowing it further deepened the divide in our family. Yet, I couldn't let go of the need for accountability and justice. Each day became a relentless cycle of hope and despair, wondering if the truth would ever come to light or if I would be left with nothing but shattered dreams and a fractured family. The ripple effects of the legal battle extended far beyond the courtroom. Family gatherings became tense and awkward, marked by strained conversations and uncomfortable silences. Relatives took sides, some offering support while others distanced themselves to avoid the conflict. My parents struggled to remain neutral, torn between their love for all their children and the painful reality of the accusations. The once tight-knit fabric of our family had unraveled, leaving behind a tangled mess of hurt and suspicion. I felt a deep sense of loss for the unity we once shared, mourning not only the physical loss of the vacation home but also the emotional bonds that had tied us together. Rachel and Lisa's denial of responsibility only deepened the wounds. They portrayed themselves as victims of my paranoia and stubbornness, painting me as the antagonist in their narrative of betrayal and injustice. It was a surreal and heartbreaking twist to witness, knowing that our sibling bond had been shattered by a single, destructive act. As the legal proceedings dragged on, I grappled with the harsh reality that the outcome could further fracture our family beyond repair. Yet, amidst the turmoil and despair, a flicker of hope remained, a hope that justice, in whatever form it took, would eventually prevail and bring closure to this agonizing chapter in our lives. The courtroom battles continued, each session feeling like a test of endurance and emotional resilience. Despite the lack of concrete evidence, my legal team persisted in presenting circumstantial evidence and witness testimonies that painted a picture of motive and opportunity for Rachel and Lisa. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I scoured old emails, text messages, and any other documentation that might shed light on their intentions or actions leading up to the fire. Every lead felt like a lifeline, a potential breakthrough that could turn the tide in my favor. But each time, it seemed like the evidence was just out of reach, leaving me frustrated and desperate. The toll on my mental and emotional well-being was immense. Sleepless nights were spent agonizing over the uncertainty of the future and the injustice of losing not just a home, but my faith in family. The weight of the legal fees and the strain on my finances added another layer of stress, threatening to overwhelm me at times. Yet, amidst the despair, there were moments of resilience. I found strength in the support of friends who stood by me, offering words of encouragement and practical assistance. Their unwavering belief in my innocence and their determination to see justice served provided a glimmer of hope in the darkest moments. As the legal battle reached its climax, I held on to that hope fiercely, clinging to the belief that truth would prevail, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The outcome remained uncertain, but I was determined to fight until the very end, for the sake of my grandparents' legacy, for the sanctity of our family's bonds, and for my own sense of justice. As the trial drew to a close, emotions ran high. The courtroom buzzed with anticipation, the air thick with the weight of years of family history and unresolved grievances. Closing arguments were made, each side passionately pleading their case one last time. I sat there, feeling the weight of every word, knowing that the fate of our fractured family hung in the balance. The jury deliberated for what felt like an eternity. Every moment stretched into an eternity, my heart pounding with anxiety and uncertainty. Finally, the verdict was announced. Rachel and Lisa were found not guilty. The disbelief and devastation washed over me like a tidal wave. How could this happen? How could justice evade us once again? In the aftermath, I struggled to come to terms with the outcome. The legal system had spoken, but it felt like a betrayal of everything I believed in. The vacation home was gone, our family torn apart, and there was no closure, no resolution to the pain and bitterness that had consumed us all. In the quiet aftermath of the trial, I made a decision. I couldn't change the past or the outcome of the trial, but I could choose how to move forward. I began the slow process of rebuilding my life, finding solace in the support of true friends and the memories of happier times at the vacation home. Though scarred by betrayal and loss, I clung to the hope that someday, somehow, our family could heal. The ashes of the vacation home may have scattered to the wind, but the bonds of family, though strained and tested, were not completely broken. And with time, perhaps, they could be mended once more.